1:30 Pacific time in America. I hope all is well. Is any new people here? Haven't heard anything from Zen Bitch Slap? No?
I'm new.
Everyone's
Stuart.
familiar? Oh, someone's new?
Yeah, I'm new.
I'm new too.
Who's that?
I'm Stuart.
Oh, Stuart, how are you?
I'm good. How's it going?
Good.
I've been
Uh,
I've been listening for years, but this is the first time I'm participating,
oh, that's okay.
if you could call it that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, welcome again.
Thank
But
you.
you heard the message, so that's what I'm more interested in.
Yes.
You're fine, yeah. So we don't have to go into much explanation.
Right. Right.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Graham,
I'm here
Tom,
too.
I'm new too.
Bill, you're new also.
Yeah, I
Have you
met
ever
you in
heard?
San Francisco.
Oh, have you heard of Zen Bitch Slap?
Actually, someone mentioned it, and so I went and checked it out. And I remembered I had met you in San Francisco when I first started doing 12-step, and then also in Chiang Mai.
Oh,
So
yeah. Oh,
yeah,
good.
yeah,
Oh, great. Well,
it kind of
remember,
resonated when I heard
don't
you.
let the idea of the messenger prohibit the message. That's a good idea. All right. So, well, I'll just start. So, the thing is, some people believe we're delivering a message, but really we're negating a message that already was delivered, yeah, and is being delivered by the mental state. That message is you're a long-lasting, independent, separate entity. Yes? That message is what can be perceived, and object is what's perceiving. That's the message. The message is we're in time. There's a past, a present, and a future. The message is these thoughts are mine. These feelings are mine. And definitely the actions that go through me are my actions. Yeah. This is the message that this message is negating. That's all. There's no message of the truth. The message is about the falsehoods. And then the truth becomes self-evident or evident. I don't like to use the word self. So the truth will become evident. So the message is really a negation of a prior message that we've been listening to, seemingly. There's been a listening to it for quite a while, and it's come to a point where the message we've listened to is our starting point. Yeah. There's not really a questioning of self, there's a questioning of how I can get out of it, really. Yeah, because there's a feeling we are already a self. So that seems to be established. This is what the message of non-duality negates. It negates those assumptions, those messages. And if those messages aren't negated, then a statement by Ramana Maharshi becomes applicable. If you don't know Ramana Maharshi, it doesn't matter really. So he put a statement that he uses quite a lot, and he says it in a lot of different ways. And that statement is there's this presupposing going on of a non-existent thing, and it's being presupposed to be existing. Yeah. And then wanting to get salvation for that non-existent thing. Now he's putting out this proposition that that's a mental state we may all be starting from. We may be starting from a non-existent thing that's been giving the attribute of existing. Yeah. And we're trying to seek salvation or relief or satisfaction or happiness for the non-existent thing. Yeah. That's the premise. Then he says, what happens if this is the case is your spiritual practices themselves are reinforcing the non-existent thing. How can they destroy it? So hopefully, when I heard this message, uh, in the pursuit of spirit, let's say, or really a pursuit of trying to get out of self, when I heard this message, it was sort of like a shoe and it fit. Yeah. And then I just walked around with it. And then that shoe led me to hear about another shoe and that fit, and another shoe, then that fit. And after a while, the messages that I had been believing that I was living as and living from were questioned. Yeah. And I saw the futility of trying to use what I am to seek for what I am. It just made no sense. Yeah. Finally. And all of this momentum to do just that started, some came to a screeching halt, some sort of died sort of on the vine because they weren't given water or attention and stuff. And the messages that had the great value for me wasn't that I'm a lion, if you want to use the example, but that I'm not a sheep. Yeah. So because I'm under the assumption that I'm a sheep as a lion. And I realized when I kept hearing that I'm a lion as a sheep, I felt more guilty about being a sheep. Yeah. It didn't lead me to realizing I'm a lion. It led me to not wanting to be a sheep. Yeah. And if I try not to want to be a sheep while seemingly being a sheep, that's just more sheeping, yes? There's got to be a simple recognition of that. If it's not available now, it will be, because non-duality won't make sense if you're hearing it from the sheep. When you hear it from the lion, it's about the sheep. It makes complete sense. Yeah, because it always surprised me, you would be doing a share for, let's say, 45 minutes, basically about not being a sheep, and then someone who was like 2 feet away from you, after the talk stopped and they raised their hand, and the first question they asked me, can you talk about that sheep idea? I'd been doing it for 45 minutes. It was being sucked up by the vacuum of sheeping, and it never seemed to hit the mark. Yeah, because I'm not talking to the sheep about not being a sheep. I'm talking to the lion. Yes. And the only thing is, it's not like either the sheep gets the message or the lion gets the message. No, you see, you're not the sheep that thinks it's got the message, and the lion always gets the message. Yes? The lion always gets the message. It's not a sheep because it inherently knows that. Yeah. It's when the sheep says it got the message, then it seems as if the lion didn't get the message, but only because the lion is identified as the sheep. Yes. So there's no need to vanquish an imaginary idea, and as soon as you realize that being a lion isn't determined by you seeing that you're not a sheep. You're a lion, period. Yeah? That's the great news. The great news is you are, and you have been, and you'll be, and you will be what you've been looking for. That's the great news. The great news is a disarming, not a call to arms, not more study, not more fucking vigilance and work. It's a releasing from all that. Yeah. Because if you look at consciousness, the experience of consciousness during the day, that's what we call it, whatever you want, consciousness, awareness, whatever. Consciousness, awareness. Is consciousness like efforting to see through the eyes? Is it efforting to hear through the ears? Now, the ears may be fucked up, so your hearing may be bad, but that which is hearing isn't fucked up. Yeah? The instrument it may be using to hear may be screwed, but what's hearing isn't. Yeah? Does it show any thought or effort to be seeing? Do we go to seeing classes, or do we go to seeing retreats? Do we go to hearing retreats? Do we go to, touching retreats? Do we go to smelling retreats so that we can smell better or touch better? Do we or not? Of course not. Is there any thought and effort in seeing? In seeing, is seeing demonstrating in any thought or effort to be seeing? No. Yeah. Why would we think that thought and effort could be used to arrive at that which doesn't demonstrate any thought or effort. It's when the sheep hears it, it's called to arms to become like a lion. When the lion hears it, yeah, there's a release from the identification as the sheep. Yeah, the identification as a sheep is still presented, but you're not putting your hands into the handcuffs anymore. The handcuffs are being presented. They're saying you're already handcuffed, but you're not believing it anymore. Yeah. So what happens? I don't know. Find out. One of the first big things that happened with me was I stopped trying to get into the moment because I realized I can't be out of a moment. It just was so freaking obvious. And from that point on, I've never been gypped. Yeah. I'm here, not because of any thought or effort, because I'm here. Yeah. That's the nature. It's not some weird nature practicing being here now. Being here now is the nature of us. Yeah. It's an adopted nature that tries to make effort to be here now because it believes it's not really here and it's never now. Yeah. So it's a lot of effort for that which we're not to have the experience or the narration or the story that it's being here now. But it's usually premised on conditions and circumstances and effort and all this bullshit. But our own nature is being here now. That's the nature of us. Yeah? So why so much effort? It implies I don't care about the effort. It's the starting point that makes sense of all the efforting. Yes? For you, it's like the statement Ramana talks about, which is the greatest mystery of this whole event is reality wanting to attain reality. Yeah? He says you're going to realize it one day, and on that day, you're going to laugh your balls off. I paraphrase there. You're going to laugh your balls off because you'll be in on the joke. Yeah? I'm more interested in what the hell could reality be entertaining to drive it to want to attain reality? That's what I'm interested in. So I have a feeling like the Course in Miracles says, you and I are the dreaming of the dream. We forget that we're dreaming, and I would say through the identification as the dreamt. Yeah, I think that's what facilitates the seeming forgetting that we're the dreaming is the identification as the dreamt, which is the object that is given the credit to be that which is perceiving, which it isn't. Yeah. So you and I are the dreaming of the dream. We forget that we're dreaming, and then in that condition, we give now everything we're dreaming, we give it the ability to affect us. Yeah. So now we're at the effect of what we're dreaming. Yeah. Us actually being the cause of the effects, we don't see it that way. And so there's this huge loop. There's the projection of the dreaming. We see it from the dreamt and we perceive it as real, and now it has real effects on us. And to the point where what's actually not happening is more dominant than what's happening in many of our lives. Yeah? Because most of our interest and attention is sucked up into the mental state, and the mental state is using now to think about yesterday and tomorrow. Do you think someone's going to come down and save you from this? You are what you're looking for. You are it. You are what you're trying to give meaning to someone else. You are that. As St. Francis says, what's looking is what you're looking for. Yeah. It's being here now, but it was never not being here now, nor will it ever not be here now. So its being here now is natural, authentic. It's no thought of effort. It's just available at all times, right where we are, with no requirement necessary, because we are it. Yeah. But we want to go through the middleman and middlewoman, and what happens is something gets lost there. It's like that big camera looking through the little Brownie camera. It seemingly forgets that it's the big camera, and it takes itself to be the little camera. Just like it said there, you and I are the dreaming, you and I are the big camera, you and I are the dreaming of the dream. Now, the part of the dream is this little Brownie camera. We forget that we're dreaming by looking through the Brownie camera, yeah? And now suddenly we believe we're a Brownie camera. And now everything that the Brownie camera sees now has the ability to affect the Brownie camera, yeah? And so what happens with the Brownie camera? You have very limited possibilities. What you say, hey, I can't fucking see anything. This is like a plastic lens I'm looking through. The pictures come out terrible. Shit like that. Hey, I'm gonna read up on it, so I buy a Nike lens, a Nikon lens, not a Nike lens, a Nikon lens, about $5,000, and I put it on the Brownie, hoping I'm gonna get a higher quality picture. But the plastic lens is going to dominate whatever lens is put on after it. Yeah. So suddenly you got a 5,000 Nikon lens. The pictures look exactly the same. That's unbearable. So you make up a story. I'm doing so much better now that I have the Nikon lens. But really, you're not seeing shit. What happens? You hear a message. What's the message? It's not to the Brownie. It's to the big camera. Hey, big camera, you're not the Brownie. Yeah. So what happens? Suddenly a possibility arises for the big camera, not for the Brownie, for the big camera, which is, I'm not that. I can be free from it. Suddenly, it just backs off the Brownie. Yeah. The Brownie still appears to be there, but it's not the Brownie anymore. Yeah. And when it realizes it's not the Brownie, it realizes it's always been this big camera. It never was the Brownie. And it's never gonna be the Brownie. Yeah? It was just appearing to be so based on certain circumstances and conditions. The large camera seemingly got lost by looking through the Brownie. Yeah? If you talk to the Brownie about that, it can only turn its nature into a goal that it wants to arrive at through the nature of the Brownie camera. It wants to become the bigger, greater camera with a huge, huge disadvantage. It's completely believing it's a Brownie camera. Yeah? So it's going to fail miserably because it can't become what it ain't. Yeah? So no, we talk and talk and talk every week to get it to the big camera, not to the Brownie. The Brownie's going to say after you get the zoom, it'll say whatever it's going to say, but it's going to say that under the assumption it's the one that heard the message today. It's the Brownie camera that's going to claim to be the hearer of the message. The hearing of the message doesn't claim shit. Yeah? It just has an effect. It has a ripple effect. It has something occurs when the lion hears it's not a sheep is completely different than when a sheep hears it's not a sheep. Yeah? Completely different. So we're not speaking to all of us. We're speaking hopefully through you. I'm not trying to get to Yariv. I'm trying to get through Yariv. Yeah? And I don't need to aim because you can't miss everywhere. I can throw it this way. It doesn't matter. All I got to do is evade Yariv's catching it and catching it and catching it. It's sort of like Yariv is used to juggling 3 balls. We want to throw about 5 balls in and see what it does. it's going to drop all the balls. And then the emperor or the juggler, you're going to see it with no clothes. Yeah? You're going to see these devices aren't yours. Yeah. And will you be dreaming to become a lion? No, you'll be a lion. Yeah? Just like the selfing wants to convince you you already are a self, and then the only option then is I want to get out of that. Yeah? This is going to tell you you already are a lion, but there's a landing there because it's fucking true. It doesn't get manufactured by selfing. There's not lioning, there's selfing. Yeah? There's sheeping. The lioning isn't lioning. That's its nature. Yeah? And then, you know, the horse is in front of the cart. Blue gets to be blue, red gets to be red. Yeah. You know what it's like to see things while you're moving, while something's moving you all the time? When you're seeing things under the influence of time, you're not really seeing anything. The here that we think we may be at is bookended by there and then. That's not here. Yeah? Here isn't a little pause between yesterday and tomorrow. It's not. Here is eternity, in a sense. Yeah? All the different curtains never changes the framing of the window. You can put thousands of curtains on Wednesday, Thursdays, Friday. It's the same. Yeah? All right, want to start the
Okay. Graham, is up.
Hey, Paul.
oh,
How's it
Graham,
going?
I'm right on the right square. It's cool. How you doing, Graham?
I'm great. First, I thought I was a center of desire. Like I had desires and I had to accomplish it to feel fulfilled. Right now, that's just as present, but now I know that it's an illusion.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so whenever I go into the question of who is this I that has the desire, it's just space, boundless. So and it's just like freedom. I don't know how else to describe
You're doing a good job.
it. And I don't know if it's like impersonating other definitions of it, but it's just there's so much energy right now, and there was never anything else but now. It's just the unsatisfactory nature of everything in time just dissolves, and you know, even though there appears to be forms and movement, it's all just one little pearl in nowhere. Like I don't know what other poetry I should write, but but I just wanted to share that.
Well, thank you, man. Yes.
Thank you for doing this.
Well, I'm not, but yeah, thank you. Yes, bro. Thank you very much.
Oops, I'm not muted. Sorry.
It's not we're not selling a product. You are the product. Yeah. The message is of negation of another message. The message of selfing is being negated, and then you find out a whole lot, really. Yeah. Can you imagine if you ran into something here, and because you ran into it like an idea or something, just like everything else, uh, but this idea tends to be quite different. It stops the need for any more ideas about this topic. It doesn't look for different radical or extreme versions, a super turbocharged, everything like that. It doesn't look to synthesize itself with other things. It just is. And it can become the last answer for us concerning a very important topic captured by that movie. What's it all about, Alfie? What's it all about? Yeah. Well, this can put a rest to that, where you can have. There's a great relief when you realize most shit's above your pay scale. Yeah. You just. I remember the day the last question I ever asked at satsang happened. Yeah, I remember it because it was the last time I ever asked a question. That's why I remember it. This for me is my experience with it, my attempting to make poetry out of it, or whatever, however you want to express it, is captured by, in time, it's proven to be the last answer, which is an incredible answer. Yeah. It's been entertained for quite a while, and it hasn't spawned any new answer or any need to have a new answer, or it hasn't reproduced any answers. It's just, it's truly like the last house on the block. It's got that kind of finality that snuffs out. There's no leakage in non-duality. It doesn't leak out and go into tributaries. It's just seamlessly, it's a perfect rebuttal to the constant mental assumption and messages we're being given and reinforced and assumed and implied and insinuated and supported by all the mental activity. Yeah, it just, its verdict is sort of like a final verdict. Yeah, there's a recognition that you're not going to get it. It's not in the realm of experience. And if you can't have it, there's a great thing, which is you can't lose it. And it just keeps negating how the mental state wants to shake it up and put it into a binary or a dualistic essay, so to speak. It just won't budge. Yeah. It comes in, and it may just a lot of other things will come and go, but it will be the underlying basis of your living experience. Fucking far out. I don't get any renewal subscription charges every year. Yeah. It doesn't say what's new in 2021 in non-duality. There's nothing ever new. It's just the basis. It allows tons of newness to come and go, but man, it's that's pretty cool as an experience or an expression through an action figure that had been seeking to get out of itself since about 6 years old on, and was very devoted to that impossibility of trying to get out of self as self, and never being able to get it, that's an impossibility. Self can't get out of self. Really fucking went to great ends and had tons of consequences, and nothing seemed to break through until something broke through. And thank God, and I think most of us have it somewhere in our event, which is being convinced. I was amazingly convinced of certain things, and I've never been unconvinced of them. And that which wants to play the game of convincing and unconvincing, I'm just not that. I'm not a mental movement of this or that, or yes or no. I don't know what I am. I don't have an interest in knowing. I just know what I'm not. I'm not like I'm not the axis of a seesaw, yeah, with the desire to get to the top from the bottom and only turning it into the bottom, and then just da 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 da, yeah. And then because of the failedness of the system, I have to make stories up of progress and I'm getting better and on and on. But in fact, nothing really has changed, yeah. I may be in a temple in Chiang Mai or Thailand, but nothing's changed really. It's the same, you know. Paul goes to Bangkok, Paul goes to Chiang Mai, Paul goes to Burlingame, and you can. So yeah, yeah. Thanks for that share. This is all it's about. You know, lighting that light that never needed to be lighted and no wind can blow out. That's what's beautiful. Yeah. You don't need matches because this light's never going out. Never. You don't need vigilance because nothing can blow it out. Yeah. You don't have to put logs on it because you don't need to increase the flame. Yeah, you just, yeah. You realize you're not going to get it, and hallelujah, Jesus Christ. What would I do with it if I got it? I'd really fuck it up. You know, just like we say, you drop an alcoholic in heaven, it'll be hell in a day. I mean, fuck. I'm so happy I can't get it. I do. I'm so happy it's the indescribable, the unknowable, the incomprehensible. Because obviously, if I could comprehend it, I could corrupt it. Yeah, it would. I wouldn't be corrupting it, but the mental state claiming it would be a corruption of it. It would make it something. It would. Yeah. So, yeah. All right.
Thanks,
Mike,
Graham.
Mike.
Tricia is next. We don't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, now we can.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Paul, can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a question. Actually, it's about difference or differences. Like sometimes you say we are it, and not always, but when I'm aware that I'm not the action figure, but still there's, or like sometimes I'm really like impacted by something you say, but I know that somebody else maybe not impacted at all. So I'm just wondering these differences. I mean, existence is one, but where are the differences? Of where do they come from? How do they present themselves?
Well, there's differences
Like
in time. Yeah.
in time.
In time. Yeah.
Mm.
In time, where there's no difference in, there's tons of differences seen. Yeah. It's dreaming, honey.
Like before you said, like the different kind of cameras. So everybody has different kind of camera,
Well, seemingly, it's not. It's
seemingly.
yeah. They're not in there, but see, there's an appearance of a door, and therefore the message goes through a mail slot. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. But it's just an appearance. It's just one of the, you know, sometimes there'll be a free sample and it will just tell you it's always been this way. Emptiness, seamless, no differences, no degrees, no changes of sizes. That's all in the dreaming.
Mm.
Yeah. We're dreaming
Yeah.
separation. We're dreaming all this.
Mm.
And in so if you take something right now and you believe you know its nature, add time to it and that nature will seem to change.
Mhm.
Yes? Because
Yes.
time is a magical ingredient. Hmm? So yeah,
Okay.
don't worry. There's we're seeing the differences in the quote wholeness. You can see the wholeness in the differences, basically. Yeah.
Mm,
But
mm,
how this is programmed is see differences in the wholeness. Yet
mm,
being the wholeness, we can have it where you see the wholeness in the differences.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And then the differences appear, just like that old thing of first there is the mountain. Well, I like to say first there is no mountain, then there is the mountain. So let's say the mountain is differences. Then there is no mountains. You got a peak experience. And then there's the mountains again. Yes? But what we're saying is we're sticking, there is no mountain before. So before differences, there are no differences. Then there's differences. Then there may be an event where you see no differences, and then that event will wane and the differences will get reestablished. But the beginning point's the fact. There are no differences. Yes? Yeah.
Yes.
So during we're hearing the message, sometimes there's a lot of differences, almost like I don't know if you have it in Germany or wherever you are. We have something called a lazy Susan in America. You put it on a kitchen table and you spin it, and it has things, and you
Yeah.
never know
Turn.
at
Yeah.
an event like this, you never know what little opening in a lazy Susan gets all the way through.
Mhm.
Yeah. Because things
Mhm.
are happening, you're feeling different today than maybe yesterday as the action figure. So you're always trying to slip the message through the lazy Susan with the hopes one of them gets through. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I hope that didn't help, but whatever.
Good.
Just stick with it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, shoot. Oh, it's still not muted. Sorry. Thank you, Tricia. And Tim is up.
Hi there. Hi, Paul.
Hey,
Hi there. How can you hear? Is it clear?
I can hear you. I'm gonna
Yeah,
try to.
sure. No, yeah, thanks. Thanks, Paul. It was my first time for joining in on your Zoom call, so I appreciate all that you're doing, and brilliant to see so many people here. And yeah, it's a great little community you've got. I had a question which has been arising, as it were, on an intellectual level, the kind of self not being able to get out of self. And I've only really heard this the last sort of maybe 3 or 4 days actually is when I sort of watched some of your stuff, and that kind of rings very true on to me at least, as I feel it does. My you've referenced it before, not today, but I wanted you to, if you could just kind of speak to this. You kind of mentioned today about the convincing that was required for you personally, and then also this idea of surrender um, to a higher power or some such thing. And I've been watching some of your 12-step stuff as well, kind of linking in with compulsion. And it seems to me, at least, as though that reaching a point of desperation or concern as to why things aren't going the way that you would like them to go does seem to be quite closely linked, at least for me, to a want, at least, for that to not be the case. Fitting in, of course, with understanding what we're not as opposed to what we are. And as is often the case when trying to formulate stuff like this, it gets very, very contrived and mumbly when you start actually putting it into words. But if you can get some sense of where I'm coming from, any thoughts you've got on that, Paul, I would be very happy to hear.
Well, it's more suited for the recovery meetings, but yeah, let's say first, the self can't get out of self. Is obvious because there's an identification going on. So one aspect of self is called Paul, and that aspect of self as Paul wants to get out of its idea of self. So it's Paul. To Paul, it looks like Paul's trying to get out of self. It makes complete sense to Paul to get out of self, but in fact, it's self trying to get out of self. Therefore, it doesn't work. Yes. So it's the act of being identified See, what happens is maybe you get to a point where some knowledge comes into your life about things that are going on. Let's say recovery, or you get introduced to Buddhism and stuff. And then there's a recognition of something some people would call an ego. I don't see it that way, but let's say a self, or there's something going on that is a big blockage to my living life. Yes? So there's that recognition. Now, what's claimed the recognition is also an aspect of self that the person usually doesn't notice. I mean, let's not say there's a person, but there's not noticing of that, right? So now they become aware of something and they're feeling like that's what has defeated me, and let's call it broadly self. But they don't see that which is claiming that knowledge of that self is also self. Yeah? And therefore self can't get out of self. All you get is more self. Yeah. So it's not enough, because see, we want to think self is a condition or some place we arrive at, or sometimes it roars up and goes and flares up and it fucks things up. Yeah. But in fact, the idea of self is an activity. Yeah. And it's going on. And when it recognizes, when there's an awareness of it claims to be the one who had that awareness of it. Yeah. So then that falls into the statement, self-knowledge avails you nothing. So now the knowledge of self has been claimed by self, and now that self-knowledge avails you nothing. It doesn't lead you to freedom from self. Yes. It leads you trying to be free as self, which is bondage of self. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So what's one to do when the doing is the problem? So a fucking surrender occurs, hopefully, where you realize you're outmatched. Yeah, and it's your own movement is tightening the Chinese thumb torture thing. Yeah, and yet you can't stop moving because you're seemingly powerless over it. So you get a real sense that you don't have a problem. You are the activity of the problem that's migrating everywhere you go with you and lending its meaning to everything you meet. Yeah. What's one to do as the action figure? Surrender is the only thing. Now, I don't know what surrender was, but I was given the experience of it. So now I can entertain it. Yeah. I know what it's like to surrender in my little world because I witnessed it. Yeah. Something did it to me. There was admitting that I was fucked, like I had never been that admittance before, and that I'm not managerial quality, and it was done. You know, I was convinced of that thoroughly. It didn't happen in the head. I don't know where it happened, but it wasn't up there. And then I could entertain surrender, which is you get established in a state called surrendered. Yeah. So I've not become unclear of what I was made clear about 32 years ago in recovery. I'm still as clear as I was that day. Yeah, that I'm fucked. And I'm not managerial quality.
So
Yeah.
is surrender then kind of random? Like, because this, I think the question is that, like, I know effort seems to be a kind of a thing that is scorned in a way, because the effort of doing something is still in the self and you're still trying to get out of something that you're not. But then when
No,
does
the effort directed by the program is helpful. Just like they try to say it about when you align the self will with this other will of the program, things can be beneficial with that. So don't say there's no effort. There may be, but there'll be a seeing you're not doing it down the road, which is nice. Yeah. But the surrender can be asked for. You can ask for the event of a surrender. You can ask for it. That's part of the program. Yeah.
yeah.
Even if it starts out as an intellectual one, it can drop down where it's a sense felt one. And it's a reliance on a higher power program. So you ask that power, whatever, it's probably what you are, but let's say we'll make it something else. You ask that power to grant you the boon of surrender and see what happens. Yeah. I would say in recovery, surrender is probably, like Ramana Maharshi says in some of his writings, there's only two ways to go. Either admitting you're outmatched, yeah, and fucking surrendering to a greater power and live as thy will be done, or you get down to the cause of the mystery and see it's not you, and so on and so forth. So there's basically, one is maybe triggered by an inquiring about self and seeing it's not you, and the other is just a fucking throwing up one's hand and surrendering. Yeah.
Yeah. All
I
roads
would
lead to
say
Rome.
the latter one is expressed more in recovery than the former one. I
Yeah.
think a lot of the former happens after you are sober for a while. Because you are going to, if you look at your role in things, you're going to see some foreign pathogens role in things. You are. You're going to see a mental activity that's dominating the event. And it's called self or whatever, but it's an activity. You'll see it. Yeah. And you'll
Yeah.
see it because you're not it. You'll see it clearly because you're not it. Yeah. And one day, one moment, that's going to be super clear to you. And somewhere in you, that will never be forgotten, ever. Yeah. You will see. This was the big moment with me in recovery when I heard, I was reading, being convinced that self, when I saw self as other, the next possibility that became available was I can be free from it. Therefore, by not seeing it as other, by calling it me, the only possibility I could have was trying to be free as it. Yes? You see, it's a huge difference.
Yeah, it's a big difference. Yeah.
Trying to be free as self is the bondage of self. That's it. Yeah. But being free from self is you've lost interest in an activity that's implying something that's not so, really. So therefore, the implying doesn't work as much because it's your interest and attention that convinces you that you're that. It is. It's using interest and attention to convince us that we're that. Yeah. Yeah. And that's that. So, yeah. You can try to rehab it, you can try to make it better, but it ain't going anywhere. Yeah. And every time you meet it, you call it you, you're in the act of being identified. Yeah. That's the root of the problem. You're not doing it. It's a mechanical activity. Yeah. But if you're keen on it, if you're believing it, it's going to use your juice to manifest its agenda. Yeah. You're going to see a world from its eyes, not yours. You are. And you're going to see a lot of resentments where there aren't any. You're going to have tons of anxiety with no apparent threat. You're going to be at the effect of a fucking mental state running wild. Not you, but this whole event. Yeah. Yeah. And then every time you hear a message, you're going to be trying to use it to get out of self. And I'll tell you, it doesn't work well with non-duality. Yeah. If your identification as self tries to use non-duality to get out of self, it's just going to be more fucking self. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
You're
fear.
going to have to go through that phase and still stick around because then you'll realize you're going to get nothing. And that's the greatest gift of all. You're going to see there's nothing needed. Nothing needs to be added on to it. Nothing needs to be subtracted from it. It's just the interest and attention is now established in what you are instead of constantly being drawn to what you're not. That's all. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that, Paul.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tim. Anybody else want to raise their hand? Jeffrey B.
Hello, hello, testing.
for me. You, Paul?
I can
Can you
hear him.
hear?
Yes.
Yeah, well,
Right.
my question was, I noticed a few days ago that how concrete it is, how concrete the like feeling like strictly and only this body, and how concrete all the thoughts are in the head. But then you mentioned it being a kind of a mechanical movement, and so maybe it's like mechanical, and it's almost like I didn't even have any interest in it's almost like I had no clue or no hint of what I am, just I was stuck in what I was not. But you also mentioned like you can ask for surrenders, so maybe that's the way to kind of dissolve that concreteness, is to ask for surrender. You were talking in terms of recovery, but still it could apply to this as well, to the
Well, remember the feeling of concreteness isn't coming from that. It's being given to it by the selfing.
it's
The
being
thoughts
given.
aren't telling you they're concrete. You are, what you're not is saying they're concrete.
Oh, I know. Oh,
Yeah.
what is saying that they're concrete, right? Yeah.
Yes. So they're not concrete. See, this is how it slips. It assumes so much with very little inspection. Yeah. We're so busily being drawn to other things, we're really not watching what's happening. Yeah. And we're looking for a huge solution when it's in the mundane where the real value is. You recognize it's like it's like machinery, yeah. So you recognize it. So then what's lost then? The sense of personalness gets diminished greatly. Yeah. You start recognizing it as not you. And then instead of being in a conflict or an antagonistic position with it, there's an acceptance of it. Yeah. And the whole scale is based on interest and attention. And why so much interest and attention goes to it, it's presented to be about us, really. And if you can sort of look into that little veneer, that little fake shine that keeps drawing the attention and interest, and entertain the idea it's not you, there'll be a loss of interest and attention to all that's happening. Yeah, that it's using to reinforce this idea. There will be. And it's basically that loss of interest that's the change, is the game changer. Yeah. Because when you lose interest in that, there's a gaining of interest in other possibilities. There's not just a loss of interest. In this dualistic dreaming, there's always loss and gain. Yeah. So when the interest is pulled out of one thing, it goes in somewhere else. And so now there's a lot of interest and attention resting in its own nest of presence, so to speak. Yeah. While there's little meteorites and fucking asteroids going here and there, it's resting now in something that's always available at all times, right where it is. It's resting in presence, so to speak. And that becomes the big uh, that has such a gravitational pull way beyond the constant obsessing around self. The presence pulls the attention and interest in. Uh, you don't even feel it. It's just, but it's very powerful. And now that which used to just overwhelm you doesn't anymore. Yeah. That
Well,
which would compel an action doesn't anymore.
I would say you do. Wouldn't you say you do feel it? Like you feel like maybe you could use the term like freshness or newness
Well, I
when
feel
you,
more it's like a large availability, which with an incessant onness, yes. But I don't feel a big pull from it at all because I'm in it. So I'm not pulled into the other thing.
right,
I
yeah.
see the other thing, but I'm not pulled into it as much. Yeah. So I don't feel it as a pull anymore.
So when you talk about seeing what you're not, you can't find what you are, but you can see what you're not. It's kind of
Exactly.
like
That's
it's
what
kind of,
you are, is the seeing of what you're not. That's what
and
you
that,
are.
and to see what you're not might be to just notice the mechanical operation of your mind in terms of,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yes. Yeah. If you look at a puddle, it's very similar to a lake. They're just different sizes. Yeah.
yeah,
All the movements in this place are just disguised with different sizes, or they last longer than others. But basically, uh, you can see the stamp of dreaming in everything. Yeah, yeah. So you don't need much. If you get an understanding about what you're not, like a working one, then while the activity is going on, you'll recognize it. And once you recognize it, the attention is actually leaning on what's seeing it, not what's being seen. Yeah, yeah. And then one time you notice it, and you really feel the attention on the seeing, not what's being seen. And then you see the dryness of the mechanicalness of it. And it wasn't personal. You weren't the doer of it, and you're not the doer of it now. Yeah. There's this. You've been sold a bill of goods, like a bill of ownership, with shit you have nothing to do with, really. Yeah.
it's a lot like the Hal thing that you mentioned. Hal from Space Odyssey. It's kind of
Yeah.
gone out of control.
Yes. 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 Yeah. Except we're calling ourselves Hal. See, the people in that 2001, they didn't think they were Hal.
Oh
So
yeah.
they put up a little battle. We'd all be thinking we're Hal, listening to Hal. The movie would have went in a totally different direction. It would have looked like our lives. Yeah. We were. I mean, let's say Mike was listening to Hal. There was a little bit of a suspension of Hal, belief in Hal, because it was Mike. But we're all Hals listening to Hal. Seemingly. So we tried to get out of Hal as Hal, and that's just more listening to Hal. We don't realize we're the living of the mission. This is the mission. It's like people believe they're on a ride they can get off. The body, mental, emotional continuum is the ride. It thinks it gets off and on a lot of rides, but it's the ride. When you look at the hamster wheel, we're playing the role of the hamster. That gives the definition of that piece of metal by our moving on it. Now, we want to get rid of the wheel of the hamster without getting rid of the hamster. But there is no hamster wheel without the hamster. Try as we may, it hasn't worked yet. It seems like it's still moving. Yeah, the hamster can't get out of the hamster. Therefore, it's the engine of the wheel. I want it to stabilize. As you. The only thing that wants something to stabilize is something that's not stable. The only thing that wants to get out of the body is a body identification. It wants to get out of a body as a body, but not have all those nasty body feelings. Yeah. And you know what? That program is in. You're not going to convince it otherwise. It's going to keep trying to get out of itself as itself. It's going to keep using the system to get out of the system. You can't convince it otherwise. You may in a retreat for a couple of weeks, as long as everything's controlled and maintained, but as soon as it goes out of the compound, it's on again. It's a stubborn programming. Self trying to get out of self.
Yeah, there's a lot of momentum to it. I definitely noticed.
Yeah. So if it fails, it just backs up and gets into a different vehicle. Spirituality, that fails. Making money, that fails. Whatever. It just keeps. It never gets the evidence of what a failed system can show you, that it's failed. It doesn't get that. You have to see that from outside the system. It doesn't. That's the surrender in AA, is a recognition of the failedness of the system, really. But usually that has to be seen from outside of the system. Yeah. Like I got struck with that. It didn't come from the system. The system was just still trying to, get high and stay loaded until I could get high. And then something intervened and just set it straight. But it wasn't going to ever arrive there, tell you the truth. It would have just, yeah.
But I mean, it doesn't doesn't magically have to intervene. Couldn't it be just like when you're talking about addiction or alcoholism as a parasite or foreign installment? It's kind of the awakening of intelligence. Like this Krishnamurti, he had a book called Awakening. It's awakening of intelligence to see that parasite, to see that what it's doing and how it was acting. And in the same way with non-duality, it's awakening of intelligence to see the mechanicalness of the hamster on the wheel or whatever.
Yes. Right? Yeah. Doesn't have to be anyway, but it can look anyway. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the only way to be free from it, is to be aware of it or see it, isn't it?
Well, it's not defeating anything. It's all of us. It's coming to peace with it. I find there's no defeat.
It's
there's
a
no
surrender
vanquishing of an imaginary foe. There's just a shift of interest and attention.
Yeah, you kind of surrender. You give up on that failed system, and your attention shifts that way.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Yes. And so therefore the system has succeeded. It's shown you it's failed. That's a great value. Incredible value. Yeah. It's incredible. Some people, it looks like they're going to be done, meaning dead, before they're done. But that's how, that's a incredible event. Yeah, when you realize, and you're not dead, that it's a failed system. It's awesome. I feel like you can get, obviously, it can be entertained in a lot of various ways, but in my experience, it was brought about by a demonstration that something could do for me what I couldn't do for myself, in concerning the biggest topic of my life at that time, which was active addiction. Something just struck me sober. And then down the road, I was introduced to non-duality, and that struck me something also. Yeah. and introduced me to the end of time concerning one topic, the last answer concerning what am I and what I'm not. Pretty good, yeah. It didn't excite or demand any other answers. It just told me you're not that, and informed me how that appears and gets reinforced and insinuated and remembered. And seeing it, it was clear, not to anyone, but it was just clear that I'm not that. Yeah. So you would imagine that you would pivot and start looking for what you are, but there was absolutely no pivoting or interest in that because I am that which saw what I'm not. Yeah. So there you go.
It just makes me think about, for some reason, about time, that humans like develop memory as a survival skill, and then the memory kind of is what kind of created this whole uh, illusion of what we are. Did you
Well,
think
you
so?
can see it that way. I don't care really because that whole historical idea is being entertained now. Yeah. It didn't come from hundreds of years. It's now.
Right.
All
Oh,
is now. So I just, it's just nice to recognize what's going on, to a certain point where uh, it's sufficient to have the ability to recognize that the horse is in front of the cart. That's all. Simple.
hmm.
And then, yeah, you never get gypped. You're just you're on all the time. You know, there's no break. It's you're asleep, you're awake, you're awake. All you never get gypped. You don't. The old story that I missed out on something, or I should have, I would have. That that doesn't have any legs anymore. You're never not here, so to speak. So
Yeah.
I don't think you could. I couldn't produce those kind of effects. I was probably trying. I didn't know what I wanted, but they would have looked pretty good. But I can express those effects and I can observe it. Yeah. But I damn well know I'm not the cause of it, as Paul. So it makes it easier to travel. I don't have a big burden of knowledge. I don't. I don't. I don't have. I'm not trying to, get another martial art belt for spirituality. I'm not interested in anything. Yeah. So,
Okay.
all right. Thanks,
Well,
bros. Nice to see you,
yeah,
Jeff.
thanks.
Thanks, Jeffrey. And we have a question by chat from Rick in
The
Toronto.
clan has arrived.
What? Oh,
The family has arrived.
oh. You need to let them out?
I can hear them growling. They're behind me. All right, go ahead.
Okay. It's going to be giving more attention to the topic of time. Can you ask Paul to talk further on time? He mentioned if you take time out of the picture / equation, it would be eternal or limitless, something like that.
Time is
Oh, by the way, he's cooking, so that's why he can't ask the question directly.
he's what?
He's cooking, yes, that's why he
Oh,
couldn't ask the
cooking.
question.
All right. Well, basic 101, if you're looking at dreaming as an activity, yes, there's two major qualities that need to be there, like the tracks that the dreaming runs on, which is space and time, yes? So the old story is you need space for something to appear in, and you need time to see it. Yeah. Yeah. So this is the basis of the dreaming, which is I'm a believer to that idea of living here. I would say we're in the act of dreaming. So time is incredible because, well, just look at a plant. So you get an orchid, and then you buy it. Usually you count the buds that are on there, let's say 6 to 9. Trader Joe's, you can get a good deal for $8, and they're not out that night. You're gonna, in time, it takes the time, and you get to watch it's changing, and it's something to look forward to, and it provokes a lot of different flavors of living and expressing and stuff like that. So time is uh, is a many splendid idea that pulls a lot of stuff out and turns it into things. Yeah. So the idea of someone who's not knowing it is bound in time, they can't enjoy peace of mind, because if peace of mind was available, they'd be worried, will it be available later? Yeah. So the addiction to time, or the unknowingness of other possibilities, lends itself to them as they can't enjoy anything really, because they feel like they may not be enjoying it in an hour or something. Yes. So time has a lot of effects in the dreaming, a lot, thousands of like shades of the dreaming time. Yeah. You put a little time there, the gray looks more black. You take less time, it looks more blue. Yeah. It's a lot of hallucinations. So of course time is something that's being entertained. Yeah, obviously, because let's say if you're working at a job you don't like, it seems like fucking forever before the break occurs. Let's say then you're in the water surfing and the time is just flying by. So do you think time has, like, 5 gears like a car, and it decides to kick it into third gear just to fuck with you? No. We're dreaming. We're the act of dreaming, and we are producing the sense of time and then experiencing the effects of the producing of that sense of time. Yeah? Yeah. So I don't know what the question was, but there you go. I lost it in time. But I feel, obviously, just from the example of you're doing something you don't like and it seems to be taking forever, and then you're doing something you love and it goes really fast, that should be a pretty good indication that there's no time as a separate thing that's imposing itself on us. Yes? That we're the dreaming of the dreaming. And the aspect of dreaming, one of the big ones is time, and so we're dreaming time. Yeah? Not Paul, not the dreamt, the dreaming of what we are is dreaming time. Try it out, check it out. Now, does that help you by thinking you know that? No. But by seeing it, it'll allow you to travel lighter through what? Through time. The whole idea of traveling light is based on the role of time in the dreaming. Yeah? Yeah. So anyone else, Mike? That's all I'm gonna say now.
Anybody else want to raise their hands or chat? Hank says in chat, time is a hallucinant. Stuart rose his hand.
Yeah, hi. I don't know how. This isn't really a question; it's an observation, or it could be a question, I guess. I've over the years, because through this message, I've found myself traveling lighter, and it's the message comes through in various forms. You're part of the message, the way you express it, and things. So over many years, I found I've traveled a lot lighter, and then last year I had some traumatic experiences happened where the action figure I've had to get involved. It's not something I could just say, well, I'm traveling lighter, it's really easy. You know, it had to take my personal involvement. And so it's kind of interesting to see the overall traveling lighter, but at the same time, the action figure, if you will, has to deal with what it has to deal with to, you know, to get things done and maintain a sane life and make sure that living as it happens has to, you know, I had to settle in a state, I had some loss. And so I don't know how, you know, it's kind of like a dichotomy. There's the traveling lighter, but at the same time, it's the action figures dealing with a lot of shit. And it's kind of interesting to watch, to see.
Yeah, well, a lot of the times the traveling lighter is demonstrated when you're traveling through shit.
Mm-hmm.
You just travel lighter through it. Yes, that's the point. Yeah, yeah. It's not a promise that everything's going to be great. It's just a possibility that will be observed that you travel lighter with whatever life has in store for you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because you've had a segment of life and you remember how there was a lot of traveling heavy
Mm-hmm.
through other things, and now something has changed and I'm traveling lighter through what, you know, the cards that life is dealing to me. Yeah.
It's kind of gotten to the point where I'm wondering if, you know, I'm thinking the action figure needs psychotherapy, but I don't know if that would uh, make things worse or
Well, you know what? If I got to a place psychotherapy, I would get body work. Really, energetic body work and stuff. I think goes a lot farther than psychotherapy.
energetic body work.
Oh, for sure. If you feel things are happening and they're not like, you know, in the cartoons when they have the little cloud. They're not like that, but it's more of a sense felt, let's say dread or something, heaviness.
Yeah.
Body work is really cool. My feeling. Yeah, because the body uh you don't have to go through so many middlemen and middlewomen to get to the point. The body has a there's a door in the body to get to things that would be very convoluted if you try to go through the head, I feel.
Mm.
In
Oh,
my own
okay.
experience, because I had a lot of trauma, you know, getting run over by cars and also tons of stuff, you know, like being driven by addiction and stuff like that, and also I had energetic trauma from too much juice moving through. So I didn't ever go psychotherapy type. I went through acupuncture and body work and stuff and herbs really, and it helped the organs and the body and the brain make it through stuff. Yeah. So yeah, I would look into that if you.
Okay. So when you say body work, besides acupuncture, what does that entail? What's
Well, there's some people
Reiki?
that deal with the energetics of the body or what's running through you, and they can be of help because they can. It's actually doing them a service. Yeah, you're allowing them to participate in a release that's necessary. Yeah.
Like Reiki therapy? Is that an example?
Stuff like that. Now, I don't know about Reiki because a lot of people, uh, sometimes you got to question uh, about unhealed healers, you know? You gotta sort of have a feeling about the person, because a lot of times shit is getting moved through them while they're moving something through you. Yeah, and you don't want to have any transfer if possible. So I would get to, I knew people in that arena in the past. I don't now, and I found, I got a good hit on somebody, and they participated in something being moved that it didn't seem like I could move myself. Yeah,
Hmm.
and there was no thought about it or going over any history. It was just moving something.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's the situation, but that's what just came up listening to you.
Well, I hadn't thought. That's good because I hadn't thought about that. So that's a good
That's right.
avenue.
That's why I threw it out there.
Yeah.
This is what happens. Uh, the problem limits the possibilities of solutions. So sometimes you can hear a solution from someone else
Yeah. Well, cool.
that's being withheld from you. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I'm glad I
Yeah,
asked.
yeah. It's not like I haven't done any lately, but at the time it was appropriate. Yeah.
Hmm.
To allow, because you know this, this body, I had a lot of operations, like 15 or 16 operations, very long ones, like 17 hours, 20 hours. There was a lot of stuff going in and out of the body while while I was out. A lot of different people working on me.
Hmm.
And yeah, there needed to be a house cleaning down the road. Yeah. And the dirt in a way, or the boxes in the different rooms weren't going to be moved by talking. It was more of an energetic moving.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, bro, and then let us know what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stuart. Anybody else want to raise their hand?
There's an energetic thing going on at the Zooms also.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
feel it over the interwebs.
What?
I can feel it over the interwebs.
Yeah. It's yeah. So we're all in good hands. Yeah. All right. Anyone else?
Not yet.
Well, let's call it a day then, eh?
Okay.
I can say hello to everyone and goodbye and stuff. All right, Mike. Thanks again for everything. Yes.
You.
For nothing, really. So,
Yeah. Always.
yeah. We got Christine. Nice to see you, Christine. We got let me see who, oh, Ariane somewhere. Nice to see you. Susan coming up from below. That's always good. Always to see you. Nice to see you, Susan. We got Judith and Kerry. Jesus Christ, next week there'll be Mike there and the whole.
No, pretty soon we'll have Mike here, we'll have you and Amelia, and we'll be watching Paul.
That's right. Then you'll have to get rid of everyone but Paul. Yes.
Oh, yeah. We want that.
All right. Thanks. Nice to see you, Judith and Kerry. Yeah. See how wonderful this. Yeah, it's awesome. What kind of sprouts can grow out of Zoom? Yeah. Great. John Kay. Always a pleasure to see you, John Kay. Ben Clark, the poet laureate of Zen Bitch Slap. He's in the dock now. Robert, always good to see you, Robert. I'll speak to you about that stuff, but
Yep.
probably not
No,
today.
yeah, no pressure.
Yeah. All right. We got Johannes from Germany. Johannes has had his facial structure changed over time. It's been very nice to see. Yeah, yeah. Let's see. Tim, nice to see you, Tim. Thanks for that a little dialogue there. John Walker from Brisbane. No, not from Brisbane, from Melbourne. Melbourne, yeah. Brisbane, no. Melbourne, yes. Yeah. Brisbane, no. I'm sorry for Philip, who's from Brisbane, but Mike, nice to see you, Mike. William, William L, nice to see you there, William. Tricia, yes. As we say in AA, see the similarities, not the differences. Nice to see you, Tricia. Roman, always. George, the void. Yeah. I like the lighting in the void. It's pretty nice now. Very nice. We got Glenda O'Driscoll, my favorite Irish lass. Kenneth is now in Vancouver. Roman is in Germany. Yeah. Natalie, I don't know where she is. She's on her own planet, but nice to see you, Natalie. Hey, James, thank you for the art. Beautiful. Very nice. I like the space of that, the beach thing. Very nice.
Oh, I'm
Yes.
glad you liked it, Paul.
Oh, very much, very much.
It's
Yeah.
it was done on location on the beach.
Yes, you told me. Beautiful. And you also sent me something someone else sent me. I don't know. Somebody else sent me something this week from New Zealand. I don't know if it's you or whoever it was. I can't remember, but thank you for the lovely thing you wrote. And yeah.
Yeah, it was me, I think.
Very nice. Thank you for the effort. Very nice. Yeah. And
Well,
say hello to
I'm
your
very.
friend Narada. Narada.
That's it, Narado.
Yeah,
Narado in
Narada.
the UK.
Yes. Thank you very much for that.
Well, I'm
Verena.
very appreciative.
Verena's got the
Thank you.
fire going.
Sorry?
No, I'm talking to Verena now. Verena,
Oh,
where are you from? Verena.
I'm from Germany.
Germany.
Another German.
Fantastic. Nice to see you, Verena.
Always a pleasure.
And we got Norm. He's under another name today, but I'm calling him Norm. He's in Germany also. Nice to see you, Norm. We got Sylvester Fraser. He's somewhere. He's not in his seat right now. Matthew, as always. We got Dale Lowe. Nice to see you, Dale. We got Jeffrey. Thanks for that dialogue, Jeffrey.
Yeah, I broke my vow of silence. I just hope I didn't go over my question quota.
Don't worry. That's for me to know and for you to worry about. We'll see. We got Sonia. Sonia, very nice. Where are you from, Sonia?
I'm from Portugal, from the
Oh,
Portuguese.
yes. One of my Zen bitch slappers. Oh, very good. Nice to see you, honey.
Nice to see you. Thank you.
We got Henk from Amsterdam. Yes. We got Chris. Chris is leaning against a very small closet. Very small door there. Yariv, as always. Yes, we got Jeremy S. Nice to see you, Jeremy. We got, Mihai, my friend. You know, Mihai, I can't find that shirt you gave me. I can't find the freaking thing. I think the shaman next door came in and stole it.
Well, we'll get you another one, and I'll have you back soon here. I think things are relaxing with the disease.
Yes.
I'll have you back soon.
Oh, good.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, I look forward to it. I like to go up there.
I wanted to get a little Zen Beach slap dose. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. I got plenty of the slaps ready. Yes. We got Jennifer. Nice to see you, Jennifer. Where are you from? Jennifer?
Hi, I'm in Arizona right now.
Oh, yeah, Arizona. I just had to remember. I can see the sun on you.
Yeah.
Good to see you, Jennifer. Keith is from Boise. He's in the he's at the militia retreat. Yeah. You don't start killing people till the 4th day, yeah? You start using live ammunition. Sarah, always a pleasure to see you, Sarah. You're in London. You're back in England again? Yes? I can't hear you, but yeah, you must be. Nice to see you, Stuart. Come back. Join our little groups here. And there's people after the meeting that they may have advice and stuff. And if you stay around.
Okay.
We got
Cool.
Tariq.
Thank
Nice
you.
to see you, Tariq. I don't want to draw any authoritarian attention to you. So I'm just going to say you're in Dover, New Jersey. Nice to see you, Tariq. We got Miki from Madeira. She's the matriarch of Madeira. We got a Zoom user, Helen. She's trying to go anonymous, but I can see that face anywhere. Nice to see you, Helen. Rick Rowe from Toronto. We got Stephen of Glasgow, and his last name is Paris. Give me a miracle, Stephen.
Medical.
Ah, that makes my Saturday. We got Raven from British Columbia, Skyla. I think she's from Beverly Hills. Graham, that was a very nice share, Graham. What you are was speaking very loudly.
Thank you, Paul.
Lorraine and Mark. Francis. Oh, Lorraine and Mark. I spoke, I think, to Lorraine. She had no idea what I'm talking about, which I said is a great position to be in. We got Francis. We got, who else? Jeff N. They're coming up. Macaulay, Navdeep, Francis. Nice to see you, Francis. Some other anonymous folks. Hey, listen, thank you so much. It's just such a privilege to come and share with everybody. I feel very humbled by this opportunity. Yep. All right. See you later. Now I'm going to get very humble by walking outside into the family situation. All right.
Take care, Paul.
See you
Thanks,
guys.
Paul.
Paul, thank you.
Paul.
See you later, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
Recording.